I cordially invite Mr. Lalit Veeratunga to the podium to deliver the keynote address and to begin the proceedings of the 6th International Research Symposium of General Sir John Kothawala Defence University. Thank you. Over to you, sir.
Mr. Gotabaya Rajapaksa, Secretary, Ministry of Defence and Urban Development, and the Chief Architect of what we enjoy today, peace. It's a great privilege to be able to say a few words here in your presence. I'm greatly honored. Vice Chancellor of the Kothawala Defence University, Your Excellencies, Chief of Defence Staff, Commander of the Army, Commander of the Navy, Commander of the Air Force, Secretaries to Ministries, distinguished invitees from international organizations, scholars, ladies and gentlemen, and friends. I am indeed honored and privileged to be invited to make the keynote address this morning at this International Research Symposium, which you have been having for last 5 years, and this is the 6th time you are holding it. Proud record. And I think it's also significant that a university which should specialize in military studies has ventured out into social development aspects of a country, particularly in times of peace. And I'm glad that we are also having distinguished scholars from abroad who will deliberate on this subject and maybe leave something behind for officials, politicians, academics to ponder and take Sri Lanka forward. Peace, as you know, has opened many windows of opportunity for us in Sri Lanka. After 3 decades of uncertainty, it has allowed us to dream of big things and has created an environment to achieve them as well. And as I said, well, you can't have anyone here better than my good friend Gotabaya, who was the chief architect of this whole operation with the able political leadership of His Excellency the President. And that's why we are talking about strategies to make Sri Lanka the wonder of Asia. The vision of His Excellency Mahinda Rajapaksa to propel Sri Lanka into a force to reckon with in the region through the creation of 5 strategic hubs is to be achieved in such a peaceful atmosphere and friendly investment climate that came about gradually after the end of the war in 2009. This vision envisages a hub economy in which aviation, shipping, energy, commerce, and knowledge will not only bring massive benefits to the people, but also present Sri Lanka as a major economic powerhouse. Let me quote from President Rajapaksa's 2010 election manifesto, Mahinda Chintana, Vision for the Future, which later became the policy paradigm of the government, where he spelled out his vision in transforming Sri Lanka into a dynamic hub. Let me quote, "The objective of our next massive leap forward is to transform Sri Lanka into a strategically important economic center of the world. My determination, therefore, is to transform Sri Lanka to be the pearl of the Asian Silk Route once again in modern terms. Using our strategic geographical location effectively, I will develop our motherland as a naval, aviation, commercial, energy, and knowledge hub, serving as a link between East and West, unquote. What we mean by a hub is a central point around which economic activities such as design, production, and distribution revolve. It is important to remember that global or regional hubs just don't happen overnight, not even with some effort, unless an environment is created for greater connectivity and global competitiveness, which in turn require greater openness of the economy through market-oriented policy and regulatory reforms. It is also vital to create the required physical and social infrastructure, including human resources, in order to serve the rapid growth in the key sectors. I will briefly share with you some perspectives on how we have progressed in each of these 5 hub areas up to date. Let me take the naval hub, first of all. History shows that our ancient naval prowess has been a force to reckon with. In reviving this ancient glory, the Mahinda Chintana envisions Sri Lanka in 10 years to become a naval center point in ancient Silk Route, servicing the hundreds of ships sailing past the southern coast on the world's busiest international shipping lane. Especially earmarked for development in this regard are the Colombo South Port and Hambantota Port. It is interesting, but perhaps not surprising, that the 3 busiest ports in the world, according to the container traffic volume in terms of 20-foot equivalent units or TEUs, as many people call, are located in Asia. These ports are located in Singapore, Shanghai, and Hong Kong. While the container traffic of the top ports is somewhere in the region of 25 million TEUs, Colombo is not doing too badly by showing rapid increases in a relatively short period in its capacity to handle TEUs. Currently ranked 30th among 125 ports around the world, the Colombo port will not be too far from being a shipping hub in the region once all its 3 modern terminals are in operation. The important focus here should be development of infrastructure and improvement in port competitiveness. How fast can a ship turn around is a question that all of us need to think if we are to become a naval hub. In our quest to create an Asian shipping hub, a major challenge we can expect is competition from Singapore and Dubai. Don't forget these things. In this regard, the expansion of the existing port of Colombo is one of the largest public-private partnership initiatives we have undertaken in the country right now. The South Container Terminal, a massive new port located midway on the lucrative Asia-Europe sea route with world-class facilities, opened just a few weeks ago. This terminal, which can handle mega ships, is expanding its infrastructure to increase container handling capacity by 1.6 million containers to 6.4 million in a few months' time. That's about 4 times. In another 7 years, we expect the Sri Lanka Ports Authority to have increased its container capacity to 10 million TEUs. Remember, the highest number that a port handles is 25 million. So we're trying to move to what we call a benchmark for this region, 10 million TEUs. Not to mention a tripling in the revenue to $1 billion by then. Furthermore, under the Colombo Port Expansion Project, 10,000 direct and 15,000 indirect employment opportunities have been created. While Colombo Port is being developed, the Mahinda Rajapaksa Port in Hambantota, the deep sea port in the south, which is just 12 kilometers from the east-west sea lane, is being promoted as a key service center and industrial port where large ships can refuel. The port currently functions as a service and logistic hub with free port facilities. Under phase 2 of the project, 7 more berths are currently under construction. That's Colombo and Hambantota. Let me talk about the other port as well. Galle Port too is to be developed as a tourist destination, maybe a marina for yachts, and also a recreational port while the world-famous natural harbour in Trincomalee will be developed as an industrial port with a special economic zone being constructed in close proximity. KKS Port, of which many of you are very familiar, in the northern province is to be developed for the use of the north and east community for connectivity and livelihood. Very interesting, we are talking about sea trade. I just want to quote something from the Reader's Digest magazine of 1st April 2012. Well, this was written by a science writer, Matt Ridley, where he says very interestingly about this. Think about it. Under the caption, "Global Trade Enriches Our Lives," he says, "By 9 a.m., I have shaved with an American razor, eaten bread made with French wheat, and spread with New Zealand butter and Spanish marmalade, brewed tea from Sri Lanka, dressed in clothes made from Indian cotton and Australian wool, put on shoes of Chinese leather and Malaysian rubber, and read a newspaper printed on Finnish paper with Chinese ink. I have consumed minuscule fractions of the productive labor of hundreds of people. This is the magic of trade and specialization. I don't need to say more," unquote. Very interestingly, therefore, becoming a naval hub is extremely important in our quest to be the wonder of Asia. This is the strength of trade, and particularly sea trade. Let me now take you on to the second hub that we want to emphasize upon. That is the knowledge hub. We can broadly define a knowledge hub as a point of convergence for those seeking high quality education and training, where such knowledge and skills can be effectively used for the country's economic growth and contribute to the world's knowledge foundation. Here we are talking of not only knowledge generation, but also its effective application, transfer, and dissemination. This hub is manifested by seats of prestigious learning, both domestic and international institutions in a variety of fields. Mr. Secretary, I think this is a fantastic occasion for me to say how glad we are that the KDU, which must be talking about military strategy, is contributing extremely importantly on this subject of becoming a knowledge hub by bringing in people for research, discussion, elaboration, understanding, and of course dissemination. I think you are given the right impetus to this very important concept of becoming a knowledge hub. History records that ancient Ceylon had centers of excellence in areas such as naval, irrigation management, and architecture that influenced knowledge and skills throughout the Far Eastern region. Acknowledging the subsequent decline in this vast reservoir of knowledge due to ineffective education systems of the past and insufficient opportunities to make use of knowledge in the economy, resulting in brain drain, the Mahinda Chintana envisions to restructure the education and knowledge system suitably so that Sri Lanka becomes a key hub for knowledge and earning in the world. It may not be out of place for me to quote from this morning's, if you saw the headlines in the Island today, Minister Bandula Gunawardene, in presenting the new education proposals to Parliament, says that there will be a new Education Act, which also outlines 6 attributes of the kinds of student that we want to develop through our education system. I think this is the first time it is happening. The attributes of your product must be known before you start the process. And I think it's very important that all of us understand this concept in a deep sense. It is true that we have been recording impressive achievements in adult literacy rates, always above 95%, and net primary education enrollment. In this part of the world, we are one of those countries which have ensured that every child who should go to school should be in school, and we have done that. Maybe sometimes there may be early school dropouts, but we have been able to ensure universal primary enrollment in grade 1. However, the real challenge in Sri Lanka is achieving global